Dear America, taking guns from the 99% gives the 1% all of the power 100% of the time. Not only would any attempts to disarm Americans be met with violent backlash, but if it did work, only the most violent people in the world would have guns. By Matt Agorist, October 6, 2017. As is the case after every single time a crazed maniac causes a tragedy using firearms, politicians and their supporters come out of the woodwork to demand Americans give up their guns. Sadly, as is the case every single time, the citizens who support giving up their right to self-defense miss the bigger picture. When law-abiding citizens turn in their guns, only the government and criminals have guns. The irony here is so glaringly ridiculous that it almost hurts. With the exception of the neoconservative tyrant class, most of the people calling for Americans to be disarmed are not supportive of the current administration. Arguably, many of the people calling for Americans to be disarmed are also the ones taking a stand against racist police tactics and brutality. The disconnect happens here. People who dislike Donald Trump and who, rightfully so, call out the problem of police brutality in America, want to give all the guns in the country to Donald Trump and the police. The bottom line is that government, historically speaking, is the most violent entity in the world. In the 20th century alone, governments were responsible for 260 million deaths worldwide. That number is greater than all deaths from illicit drug use, STDs, homicides, and traffic accidents combined. And this is who we want to have all the guns. What happened in Las Vegas was tragic and, naturally, good people want to prevent it from happening in the future, so they search for solutions. However, the reality is that disarming law-abiding decent citizens does nothing to stop the next crazed criminal from taking innocent lives. Advertisement. Read more, this horribly incompetent cop will make you yell at your screen. But what about Australia? They gave up their guns and shooting fatalities declined. On the surface, this is technically correct. Australia's anti-gun campaign and propaganda launched after a mass shooter killed 35 people in one heinous act of murder. The tragedy took place in 1996, in the city of Port Arthur. Following the crime, and in the wake of national agony, then Prime Minister John Howard moved to take back all the gun rights Australians had since the country's founding. The Port Arthur shooting was a tragic time for the Aussies. But the reality is that Australia never really had a mass shooting problem, and gun violence was on the decline before Port Arthur. Prior to Port Arthur, the worst mass shooting in recent history for Australians was the Coniston Massacre. At the Coniston Massacre, the government sanctioned the wholesale slaughter Indigenous Australians. More than 170 men, women, and children were gunned down in a state-approved act of mass murder. This was all legal. In 1996, the government took at least 650,000 guns, or about one-fifth of all guns in the country. Higher estimates put the numbers at 1 million and one-third. Even with possession shaming, and amid the fear and threat of prosecution, Australians have yet to give up all their guns. It is estimated nearly 300,000 guns are still on the streets in the land down under. These guns don't belong to the law-abiding citizens either. In the United States, there are over 300 million firearms. An Aussie-style program would never work. Even if it was tried, it would lead to massive civil unrest, violence, arrests, and even civil war. Read more, video, 50-year-old man flexes his rights as he's swarmed by cops for legally open carrying. Not to mention, as stated above, even if civil war were averted and Americans all turned in their guns, only the tyrannical state and the criminals would have guns. Say goodbye to freedom. So what is the solution? Well, the answer is not so black and white. However, statistically, even with record numbers of guns on the street, time appears to be the one element that lowers violent crimes. Even with the worst mass shooting in modern history happening in Las Vegas, if we look at the last 100 years in the US, violent crime is declining. According to official FBI and US Department of Justice reports, the rates of violent crime in the US are now at their lowest level in 40 years. Violent crime rates of 2015 were one-fourth the rates of 1993. Other countries are experiencing a similar decline. And, with the exception of 1 or 2 years, deaths of law enforcement officers reached their lowest in 50 years as well. In fact, right now, in our history as a human species, it is the safest time to be alive, not just in America either. All across the planet, despite your television saying otherwise, violence against other humans is declining. In the days of mass communication and massive technological leaps, people are able to shed stereotypes and fears far faster than would otherwise lead them to ignorant violence. Governments and mainstream media now have to implement extensive propaganda campaigns to sell society wars because the old "they are bad" technique is simply losing its effect. Read more. 911 to lady reporting man for open carry. It's not illegal to open carry. Cops arrest him anyway. The warmongering powers that be have to resort to this propaganda because of those 300 million guns in the homes of law-abiding citizens. Because we are a well-armed society, the state cannot simply demand we acquiesce to their every desire. So, as you hear people call for gun control, or even if you feel the same urge, remember who benefits from it: the 1% who are the most violent humans left on the planet.
Our freedom is at stake.
People want freedom. They want to be able to hunt.
Liberty is the word.
Everything is going, our traditions, and this is what we're fighting for.
They marched in protest, a silent procession of a people grasping for one last chance to resist, shamefully admitting they only have themselves to blame for government policies that threaten their way of life, their security, and the future of democracy in Britain.
We've been very apathetic for years, and now we're paying the price for it.
It's a disgrace, really, and we've seen these fundamental liberties eroded in the last 20-odd years in England, all sorts of legislation that should never have appeared.
Sportsmen and shooters fooled by politicians into thinking that England's age-old tradition of fox hunting would never be targeted or banned. Now realizing, perhaps too little too late, that their traditions are no more secure than their freedoms.
This isn't about banning fox hunting. This is about the liberty of the individual to choose for him or herself what they do.
A future that's in doubt, and the largest peaceful protest in British history to try to change that has got many asking, where were these voices 6 years ago when there was an outright ban on handguns and pistol shooters were forced to surrender their firearms, confiscated by the government to be destroyed?
We hear people saying the proposed ban on fox hunting is the thin end of the wedge. I am a pistol shooter. As far as I'm concerned, we've already swallowed the wedge. And where does it go next?
Liberties that have already been sacrificed for the politicians' false promise of a safer society. Gun bans that, as predicted, have simply backfired.
We've seen about a 40% increase in firearms crime since the ban was introduced. That is not a success in my book.
We need to be armed, you know, we're not safe any longer. Everything is changing.
It's very simple. The authorities have no way of controlling criminals, so they control the law-abiding, because we're an easy target.
And now, some members of Parliament are questioning the government's anti-gun agenda, an agenda that has, without a doubt, failed.
The use of weapons in crime has risen dramatically. And it's very difficult to get government departments to openly accept the fact
Politicians refusing to face the facts, while the police are forced to every day.
It's totally out of control.
This police officer, who feared he'd lose his job for speaking out, asked to remain anonymous. He said for the first time ever, bobbies are carrying firearms, but they're still outgunned by criminals who can buy whatever they want on the black market.
Every officer now in this country gets issued with body armour. When I joined the police service back in the 80s, we didn't have any of this. We had a wooden truncheon and a set of chain link handcuffs. The firearms laws have been tightened up since. Why do we still need this equipment? Simply because the criminals have the weapons and they're prepared to use them.
Gun policy's gone tragically wrong, and police morale at an all-time low.
I feel let down by the politicians, by the senior management in the police. I feel at present I cannot give the public the service they demand and expect.
And as this officer made very clear, it's a law built on a lie.
The politicians, basically, they have misled the public. They said, if we ban handguns, the country's going to be a safer place. They ban the handguns, the country is not a safer place. Why are British people not to be trusted? And I think that says a lot about the government.
Citizens left defenseless, now victims of the very laws passed to protect them, and asking how many more Tony Martins will there be. Martin, a Norfolk farmer, was forced to protect himself when no one else would. Not the police, and not the British justice system. What happened at this farmhouse owned by Tony Martin 4 years ago has struck a real nerve, not only in this country, but internationally. 2 men broke into Tony Martin's house. Both of them were shot. One of them was killed. And the man who fired that gun, Tony Martin, was initially sentenced to life in prison for murder. But many people think Tony Martin should never have spent 1 day in jail. They say he was just an innocent man protecting himself and his property.
Tony should not be in a jail, not for what he did. He was perfectly within his rights, in my view, to look after his own property and his own life.
My thoughts is that I would do exactly the same, put in the same situation. I would not hesitate to do exactly the same.
I personally believe that, you know, if you're in your own house and people come in, then they should expect whatever they get.
Everybody around was saying the same thing. You must have a right to defend yourself. It has gone too far, swung so far in favour of the criminal.
Criminals like those in Tony Martin's case, who were no strangers to the law. 16-year-old Fred Barris, who was killed, already had 29 convictions. And 30-year-old Brendan Farron had 34 convictions and had been in prison for burglary. He was sentenced to 3 years for trying to break into Tony Martin's home. But after only serving 18 months, he's free while Tony Martin remains in jail. And he's now threatening to sue Martin using taxpayers' dollars.
The system is on the side of the criminal, not on the side of the victim. You go and rob somebody and then sue them because they've damaged you. It's absurd.
The injustice of a justice system. And although Tony Martin has had his life sentence reduced to manslaughter, he still sits behind bars here at High Point Prison in Suffolk, England, counting the days until he's released. I was the first reporter from the United States allowed to visit with Tony since he's been in prison. And although no cameras were allowed, I was able to talk with Tony by phone. And what you're about to hear is Tony Martin in his own words about that fateful night.
Well, I've never really said it publicly before, but I've had a pretty raw deal. I personally think it's very, very wrong for somebody to have to live in their house in fear. But for some unknown reason, there are people in this country who don't know the difference between defending yourself, protecting yourself, and malice aforethought. I thought it was the people that came in the house that were malice aforethought.
Chief Constable of Norfolk said that Tony shouldn't have used his gun, that he should have yelled for help. Well, you've seen the isolated location. I could scream furthermore and nobody would hear me at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just a nonsense, I do believe.
It could have quite well been the dead man, because there's no question. The police in this area is totally inadequate. I mean, we get little or no support.
Police protection, residents here say they can't count on, and they're fed up with being denied the right to defend themselves.
We've been broken into several times before, and most of the people around here at one stage or another has either been broken into or had an attempt to do so.
This wasn't the first time you had a problem.
No, that was the third time this year that somebody had broken the house, yeah. You actually become a prisoner in your own house.
I have every sympathy. I genuinely do. But I can't say that the law shouldn't be what the law was. What I can say now is that because of that, we ought to review that particular law.
I think the Americans have a saying about it's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Tony Martin tried that venture. He was judged. He is in prison. The story is not yet finished.
And neither is the story of a struggle to reclaim rights these honest citizens have already lost. Costly mistakes of trusting in a government that has left them unprotected. Their message to gun owners in America is simple. It will happen to you if you let it.
Jolly well could, and they ought to realise that. If they saw what we're seeing in this country, then they'll fight for it.
But if you don't do anything, you will lose your liberties, and make the effort. Don't be apathetic. Get out there and fight.
Learn from our experience and don't give an inch. Your constitution matters, your freedom matters.
The Pericles said it way before me. Freedom is only for those who have the guts to defend it.
Need a car? Don't forget to stop by carmarshal.com where you can scout through over 100,000 new and used car vehicles. Take a look around. Get you a new affordable car. carmarshal.com.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I found that I had to make a change this ending on my videos, letting you know about the channel and fair use laws, you know, how we can report on other people's reporting and how it's good, how it's bad, etc. But you guys can look it up yourself. It is legal. It's in there. But like I've told you before, that I've been cut off from making money on YouTube for 4 years. It's really weird, bizarre, but they cut the money off, but they said you can keep the channel, and now YouTube makes all the money. And if you get bored, plug it into Social Blade website, and you'll see that they are making a huge amount off the site. Right now it's at 63 million views, 53,000 subscribers, almost 3 million views a month. You know, trying to wake people up, and I make nothing. In fact, I got a customer that's ex-congressman. He said if I could ever find a lawyer, sue YouTube on it. But because this is nuts. 4 hours a day, and to save America. You know, but at the same time, it's worth it. Look at what our founding fathers did. They died for this country. So, but getting back to the money part, this is why I'm redoing the video. Is my dream of everyone giving $1, and it's going to be $53,000 a year, or if they did Patreon, which you know, can be monthly. That is not working. That'd be great if it did. Nothing is perfect. And I appreciate the people that do donate, you know, what they can on PayPal. And there again, I'm letting you guys know that is not much. Is, you know, monthly is, oh my god. So anyways, yes, you cannot live on it. It's very, very, very low amount. But the dollar things, I do appreciate that. But when I first said everybody give $1, that's not working. I'm just I'm just letting you guys know it's, yeah, that dream. Everybody gives $1. 53,000 subscribers, it's not working. So yes, if you can give more than that, you know, I appreciate it. Like I said, you know, I'm in a unique situation where, you know what, we're already debt free, and I'm not rich, but with the little business that we have, I am able to do what I am able to do 45 hours a day, you know, letting you guys know what's going on. In 4 years, I've did the whole thing myself. 12,000 videos on there. I literally get emails where people are like, holy crap, I never knew it was this bad. And it is this bad, and it's getting worse every day because we have the internet, we have cell phones, we have cameras everywhere now, and it's just disgusting what's going on. And then, as you guys know, too, we got Trump, we got Jeff Sessions doing a war on drugs, and now he wants to go after the forfeiture laws again. It's just unfreaking real. So, if you can give more than that dream of everybody giving $1, yeah, that old video, that's not working. They're not. They're just not. So, anyways, if you can give more than that dream is not working. Hardly anybody is giving. There you go. So that's why I'm remaking the video. If you can give more than that would be great. And there again, like I said, the Patreon's there. There is some people on there that are starting to give, but there again, it's very, very low. And like I said, I don't want to get rich off of that. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because, you know, it's still so stinking corrupt. It's not even funny. My court case that I'm going to be paying out of my pocket myself with Charlotte County's coming up. They illegally looked me up and then posted all my information on LEOAFFAIRS website. They basically doxed me, however you want to say that. I forget what the word is, and they outed me, man. And that information on that site went out to 500 sheriffs, deputies, people that work at the jail, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, it is very, very scary, but we're going to do a federal case, 1983 case, violating freedom of speech. We have 17 cameras in the house now. We got 2 cameras in the car. I always carry a camera plus a cell phone. A lot of people are highly recommending I get a vest now. If I could, if the wife would let me, I would run for sheriff. We are trying to push the thing nationwide right now. Where just to mix it up and to get the topics out there is register to run for sheriff, NPA, no party affiliation, as a write-in, and that is completely free, and you can participate in the elections. And there's a lot of stuff. We got a guy, James McLinnis in Pinellas County, Tampa, who almost won. He experienced the corruption himself. The story is unbelievable. Look him up. It's mind-blowing what they did. It pissed him off. He is very, very smart. He has way more money than I did. He ran for sheriff at the last 3 months last year in 2016 and almost won. He got all of the black vote. And the reason why he did that is because he ran in, I will not bust, we're in Florida, I will not bust anybody for weed anymore unless it's an ungodly huge amount, like pounds. And then he also ran in, no more victimless crimes, no more of this freaking road pirate bull crap. And then he was going to cut the budget by 30%. And when you think about that, you can. If you stop the road pirates, you can get rid of a bunch of people. Gone. So, the wife has been saying, yes, I can, yes, I can't. So I don't know. We're trying to find somebody that can do it because I am busy doing this anyways. But, so I'm making a video, like I said, that $1 a month from everybody, you know, for 53,000 subscribers, that is not working. I'm just letting you guys know. Absolutely give way more than $1 a month. If you can, I appreciate anything. By the way, remember too, when you give that, PayPal takes like freaking 15 to 20%, so it's even worse than that. But, and there again, like I'm letting you guys know, it's way, what I get is very, very low. Appreciate it, but it is very, very low. Can't live on it. I'm just, you know, I'm working, and that's what I'm working on. And that court case is going to cost a buttload of money. That's federal court. Just the filing fees and the depositions that we're going to be doing with this corrupt cop. So there's another reason to give. We are going to be doing a deposition with this very corrupt. He was in a drug squad. He is a bad guy. He's on steroids. We heard steroids are rampant here. That's why their attitude is so bad. And we are going to get him on video, and it will be on YouTube. So that case alone is $5,000 just to bring it to court, and that's my money out of my pocket. So there's another reason to give, and give way more than $1 if you can. So keep that in mind. This is the new video, and I see, God, I talk a lot. It's already 7 minutes, but had to make it just to let you know that $1 a month from everybody is not working. They're not doing it. So if you can give more than that, please. So thanks. Keep it up. Share, like, subscribe, tell your friends, send me your videos on corruption, and I'll post it.